Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're live tonight on the Let's Talk Sports YouTube channel, as well as the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover Twitter page. We're continuing our look at the state of the divisions by having a look at the AFC East, and I'm joined this evening by a fantastic trio of guests. So we've got returning guest Byron. Welcome back, Byron. And we've got two new faces and voices for the show. We've got Johnny Cruz, who's going to be talking through and giving us some expert opinion on the Miami Dolphins. And we've got Scott joining us as well, big Patriots fan, giving us some expert insight on the New England Patriots. Byron will have to cover the Jets and the Bills, but I'm sure we've got it in hand with the four of us. So first of all, guys, welcome to the show. Great to have you as part of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover tonight. Johnny, we'll start with you just for the listeners and viewers. Where can we find you and where can we follow you?
Well, you can follow me at the Yankee Fin on Twitter, and I just got Facebook done and Instagram as well. You can find me all over Let's Talk Sports. Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time, I got the Johnny Cruz show where I interview. It's sports and entertainment, so we talk about everything. The only thing we don't talk about is no politics, no religion, but sports, TV, movies, music, whatever you're into, we talk about it. And I got a very special guest coming up on this Monday. Wednesday, I do Let's Talk Miami Dolphins with my boy Alex. He co-hosts me, also 8 p.m. And then Thursday, I'm on with Scott for the Scott Cobe show. And then Thursday nights, I do the Bodkin show with Nick Bodkin. So, yes, I do a lot of shows. You can find me all over Let's Talk Sports anytime.
One busy guy right there for sure.
Yeah, Dan definitely makes me work.
Good. Yeah, and shout out again, as always, Dan putting this together, Dan Harris, founder and runner, everything, promoter, producer, host, guest. He does the lot at Let's Talk Sports. So Dan, if you're listening and you're watching and you're up, appreciate you connecting us all and putting us all together. Scott Cobe, welcome to Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. You're going to give us some insight on the New England Patriots tonight. Where can the people find and follow you?
So I'm on Let's Talk Sports, and I'm on I-80 Sports doing their fantasy content. But Let's Talk Sports, I'm on Tuesdays for a baseball show with Alan Perales and Jonathan Grishman, who is a former baseball player. Wednesday morning, I'm on the morning newsletter with Alan from the baseball show. Thursdays is usually my off day, except I do the Scott Cobe show when it doesn't get moved around to different days, depending on the guests. And then Sundays we do a collab show on Let's Talk Sports, where it's just about anything and everything in the sports world. So that's what I do on there. And then Tuesday morning I'll be on the RotoWire channel going over a best ball draft that I did for them. So.
Cool, good stuff. Plenty of different content to be involved in as well.
Yeah.
So good stuff. So go catch the guys. Byron, last but not least, before I let you have the opportunity to kind of share where the people can follow you, congratulations, Carlisle United today. So English soccer team played a huge playoff game against Stockport County at Wembley. Byron, you've gone from League 2 to League 1 by virtue of a penalty shootout win. How are you feeling? It's been a long day for you so far, right?
Yeah, it has been a long day. That was 9.5 hours ago that kicked off. 6.5 hours ago, I think it finished. Long morning, brilliant morning, perfect morning. Penalties feel real stressful until the finish, and then it's like, oh, that was the best thing ever. Didn't miss a single penalty. 2 local lads scored. Taylor Charters scored to win it. Paul Simpson, where do you want the statue? 20 years since he left to go up to the championship after 2 promotions in a row, and comes back, takes over a team looking on the verge of relegation, keeps them up last year, playoffs final and promotion this year. And just an incredible story and a wonderful Sunday.
Yeah, good stuff. I watched most of it at home, and then I was out a little bit this afternoon, so I was keeping in touch with it. I was out. I watched the penalties on my phone this afternoon, watching it, keeping in touch with it. But congratulations. And Where can the people find you, Byron?
So I'm on everything at Byronchenko. I don't have a Monday through Friday recording schedule. You mainly catch me on Good Teams Win, but just catch me on Twitter or Instagram at Byronchenko.
Cool, good stuff. Gentlemen, let's get into it then. So we're going to take a look at the AFC East. We're going to start with the team that had the biggest news story of the biggest news story of the offseason. We'll start with the New York Jets, and that was, of course, the trade for Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. So if we just have a quick look at just some of the headlines for the Jets. So the Jets in 2022 went 7-10. They ended up finishing the season losing 6 straight after starting 7-4. So what looked like it was going to be a really good season for the Jets ended horribly. They had both the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, and cornerback Sauce Gardner. And they had the 4th ranked defense in 2022, which shows you kind of why maybe they've gone out and traded for Aaron Rodgers. They got Rodgers from Green Bay with a swap of 2023 first rounders, a 2023 second, a 6th, and a conditional first for 2024. They went and surrounded Rodgers with his buddies, signed Cobe, Lazard, and backup quarterback Tim Boyle. And they're looking to break the streak of 12 seasons with no playoffs over there for Gangrene in New York, New Jersey. So before we get into the details too much, I've got a prop bet for you guys that I'd like to get your opinion on. We are a gambling show here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, so we will look at some of the odds as well. But prop bet for the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, over or under 4.5 Cougars that he's bedded in the NFL offseason.
By now or by week 1?
By the end of the offseason, yeah.
Because I might take the over.
I'm going to go over.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend, I think he's hit 5 already. Super Bowl was months ago at this point.
You think maybe he covered that off? Maybe that's a bit of a bad line. We should call Vegas on that one. Maybe get them to shift that line.
I mean, you think of poor, down on his luck, Zach Wilson. They're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers. I'm out of a job. Looking sympathetic at the bar. Bam.
Yeah, good point, actually.
Fish in a barrel. Yeah, Zach, he's smashed that over.
Literally. And the second, also a Zach Wilson there. Just a straight yes or no. Zach Wilson to give Aaron Rodgers hell in practice all through the offseason?
No.
I mean,
if he's smart, he's going to take the opportunity. He's going to take the opportunity to absorb as much information and stuff like that he can from Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he may make a spectacular throw here and there, but I mean, that's still Aaron Rodgers. As much as people want to, say he's over the hill and this and that, it's still Aaron Rodgers, man. So yeah, no, I don't see Zach doing much in practice.
And it's still Zach Wilson.
Right.
And he's still Zach Wilson, yeah.
I can just picture Rodgers and Tim Boyle. You can't sit with us. 1 week in, like, no, bro, this ain't it.
And an interesting offseason just because of the big move, and it sort of it's a serious Jets talk. It protracted over a heck of a long period of time, and the trade itself only kind of happened the week of the draft. Seemed to be a bit of a stalemate, back and forth initially. The Packers wanted more. First of all, what do you think of the trade guys? And Johnny, we'll start with you in terms of the value of the trade, what the Packers got and what the Jets laid out to go and kind of acquire Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I mean, I think the Jets made out very well. All they had to do was swap their first-round pick. They gave up the second-round pick, but they actually had a couple second-round picks. And then next year's first, it's conditional, but I mean, unless there's an injury, Aaron Rodgers is going to play, more than 65% of the snaps. So it's going to be a first-round pick, but they're hoping it's going to be a late first-round pick. So I think the Jets made out fairly well, considering Green Bay could have asked for a lot more, and I'm sure they were asking for. I'm sure they wanted 13, but it wasn't going to happen, without them giving up 15. But I think that for what the Jets are going for, you had it up on there with them having the number 4 defense. They needed the quarterback, and they got a future Hall of Famer. So I think I don't think they gave up much at all. I know a lot of people are stressing the first round pick for next year, but that's next year's problems. They're going for it this year. So I got to commend them for making the move and doing what they had to do to get him.
I think what we saw kind of the back end of 2022 on that 6-game losing run that the Jets had to end the season, the quarterback play was the problem. They had such a strong defense. We talked about Sauce Gardner for a second there being defensive rookie of the year, but that defense was a mean unit, a nasty unit, and that really kept them in a lot of games. And just some sort of okay to average quarterback level play probably would have got the Jets over the line in terms of a winning record and into the playoffs. They went through Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco, all started games, last season. So I think, to kind of just get that, I suppose the safety that you have with Rodgers will be a big plus for them. Scott, in terms of then what Rodgers is going to bring to the New York Jets, how do you see him fitting in terms of kind of where the New York Jets are right now?
I think he fits in perfectly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the missing piece that they needed as a football team. Great defense. Wide receiving core is outstanding for them, in my estimation. Garrett Wilson's a young receiver that's on the rise rapidly. So he was the missing piece, I think, and he'll fit in really nicely. He already has, if you've seen him, he's taken his teammates to New York Rangers hockey playoff games, Knicks basketball playoff games. So he's trying to acclimate himself as good as well as he can. And the other thing that people were worried about that he kind of quelled at the press conference was he plans on being there longer than this year, I think. It just seemed like that to me. So I think that quelled the fears that they gave up a lot to get him, which you have to in this day and age. You have to give up a lot to get a premium type of quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. So I think the Jets did well. I agree with Johnny. I think they did really well. So,
is there anything to read into or take away from the fact that when Aaron Rodgers started turning up at MSG to go watch the Knicks and the Rangers playoff games, they were bumped from the playoffs both very quickly?
No, I think that's just the Knicks and the Rangers, to be completely honest. But no, that's a good one there. But no, I agree with Scott too. The fact that he's trying to acclimate himself with his teammates early on. I'm with Scott too. I think he gives him at least 2 years. So I think he's gonna fit in very well. As much as it pains me to say, being a Dolphin fan, but I think it's gonna go smoothly. Hopefully, there's no injury. But if he doesn't get injured, it's gonna be a battle for that division the whole year long.
Yeah, one certainly that we'll see a lot of. I think we're going to see the Jets a lot in prime time in 2023. Byron, what do you read into the Jets kind of making moves for Aaron Rodgers' buddies, or the toys that he didn't want? Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, he didn't demand them. He just had a list of things he wanted that he happened to definitely get. Alan Lazard's fine. Randall Cobb's fine. Like, he's not good, but like for what he's costing New York to have there, it's costing doing business with Aaron Rodgers. Right. You swallow it and you deal with it. Garrett Wilson isn't going to be held back by Alan Lazard. Randall Cobb is not slowing anybody down at this stage of his career. Tim Boyle, they need a backup. If Zach Wilson is still Zach Wilson, then, truthfully, if Aaron Rodgers isn't Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter who the backup is.
Right.
So why not have someone that Aaron Rodgers is comfortable with and likes? Yeah, maybe not how I would want a team build in a perfect world, but the Jets aren't in a perfect world. They came into the offseason needing a star quarterback. They could have went for Derek Carr. They could have went for Jimmy Garoppolo, but they wanted to push. So that's what you get when you have to push in. The Rams would do the Stafford deal again. The Broncos probably wouldn't do the Russell Wilson deal again, but you want a high-end elite quarterback, you have to pay for it and you have to go on their terms.
No, it's a good point. I think there's a bit of that whole familiarity thing, having kind of his buddies around for Rodgers, and that you've got more people there to learn that offense. Nathaniel Hackett's there as well, isn't he? After kind of what went wrong, everything went wrong at the Broncos for Nathaniel Hackett. But yes, he's gone there, and Rodgers is a big fan. So I guess that piece of just having so many people that know kind of how the offense he wants to run makes that transition a little bit easier. Moving on to the draft, we've talked about the additions and it's just mostly Aaron Rodgers and his friends. But in terms of the draft then, how do we kind of feel the Jets draft went? I seem to kind of feel that they had one big piece missing, but the Patriots were heavily involved in missing that piece. How do we see the rest of it shaking out then, guys?
I think there's kind of a big question mark on, obviously they didn't get Broderick Jones, which is the thing we're hinting at there. The Steelers moved up and got him ahead of the Jets. Yeah. If Mekhi Becton is the tackle we thought he was going to be coming into the league, not really much of an issue. However, he hasn't been the tackle we all thought he would be coming into the league. He's had slight attitude issues, not being committed enough, injury issues, which I guess come with poor conditioning. Is he committed enough? If you ain't going to be committed playing in front of Aaron Rodgers, then maybe that is a big issue for the Jets. But I kind of believe in his talent, and he was a young kid coming in. It's not like they didn't get a first-round pick. They just got Will McDonald a little later than they would have liked. Than they would have liked to maybe get Broderick Jones. I think it might not be as big of an issue as it could be. And it's obviously going to be a better situation, like I said, playing with Aaron Rodgers than trusting, the corpse of Joe Flacco, Mike White, Chris Streveler, or Zach Wilson to lead an offense. It's not what you'd like as a young offensive tackle.
No, for sure. Johnny Scott, what do we think?
I agree. I think the glaring need for the Jets was offensive line because of the Becton situation and what you're going to get out of him. Because I think their secondary is just fine. I think the defensive line is just fine. I think the linebacking core probably could use some work. But I think offensive line is where they needed to go and to solidify that. Because once Breece Hall comes back, they're going to want to run the ball a little bit more than people think. So I think the offensive line, if Becton, as Byron said, is good and is fine and plays the whole season, I think that unit will be fine. But I think if he does not play, I think then they're going to have a little bit of worries in that. So,
yeah, I agree with the guys totally on that. I like the Will McDonald pick. You could never have too much pass rush. Obviously, that wasn't the guy that they wanted initially, but it is what it is. But like Scott said, solidifying the offensive line with an older quarterback, especially because they don't want to see Zach Wilson have to come in because of an injury. Of course, Mekhi Becton's, is he going to come in shape? Is he going to, stay healthy? That's a big if, but, using 2 draft picks on offensive linemen. I like the running back from Pitt. I'm not even going to try to butcher his last name, but I like that running back at Pitt. And if Breece Hall comes back healthy, I know they got Aaron Rodgers and they're all giddy about Aaron Rodgers, but don't lose your identity. Run the ball, play good defense, and let Aaron Rodgers make those few plays that you need him to make in the game, and they'll be successful. Again, as a Dolphin fan, it's hard to do it, but it is what it is. But if they don't get too pass happy and actually run the ball like they're capable of, I think they'll be good. I think they'll be just fine, and it'll help protect the offensive line as well if they're able to run the ball like they did last year.
I think he's one of the easy to forget figures of the New York Jets because, we talk about they had the offensive rookie of the year. They could have had the number 1 and number 2. I think Breece Hall, if he played the full season, probably would have been the offensive rookie of the year. Yeah. So they would have had the top 2 offensive rookies and the defensive rookie of the year. They're in very good shape.
Yep.
And Johnny, look, I know it's difficult talking about your rival teams, but we appreciate your objectivity here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. Certainly not a place for bias. Definitely don't have our favourite team's jerseys hanging in the background of our shots. But we appreciate keeping it down the middle. And it's an interesting part. So I think it's a good point well made in terms of, the Jets actually just they don't need a dramatic change because they've got some really solid fundamentals in terms of a really, really strong defense, a great running game. You're not asking Rodgers to come in here and throw the ball 40, 45, 50 times a game to win it. Yeah. What you're there for is him relying on his experience and making the big plays in the moments that matter. And arguably, there's not really anybody better that you could have gone and got to do that. So we'll wrap up talk on the Jets. What do you see kind of the ceiling? How far can the Jets go in 2023? If we go around, Scott, we'll start with you. What do you see as kind of the ceiling being for the 2023 New York Jets?
I think the ceiling for the Jets is a divisional round playoff end for them because when you look at the AFC, it's just loaded, completely loaded. So I see their ceiling being winning the wild card game, being in the right matchup, possibly, and getting the divisional round. The low end of it would be like an 8-9, 9-8 type of season. I think they're going to finish right around 500, if not better. I think the Aaron Rodgers move does just that for them. So I think second or third in the division is going to be where they end up. Where they end up, who knows? But
cool. Johnny, throw it to you. You've obviously also part of the division. What do you see the Jets again? What's the ceiling and what's the ceiling?
I mean, to be completely honest, the ceiling is 12 wins and a division title. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's again, the top 5 defense. a good running game, some good weapons. If everybody stays healthy and everything goes, their way, I can see them winning 11, 12 games and competing for the division. The where I think they'll end is right around what Scott said. I think 8 or 9 wins. The defense was top 4 last year. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a top 5 defense this year. Sometimes people take a step back. So we'll see what happens. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to play at his Hall of Fame level? I think he will, but we don't know that for sure until we get out there and start playing the game. So I'm gonna go 8 and 9, and say that they finish 3rd in the division.
Cool. So we get Aaron Rodgers in and win one more game.
I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Green Bay will be loving that 2024 pick.
Yes.
And then Byron finishes off again, ceiling and floor for the 2023 Jets.
I think about what the guys have said, really. I think utter ceiling is 12, 13 wins, perhaps. I haven't predicted 10 and 7. I always do a playoff predictor. We'd go through the entire season before I do any of these shows. And I have them 3rd in division, 10 and 7, with the number 9 just missing the playoffs. I think what's interesting with the Jets is their bye is week 7. And, we talk about Aaron Rodgers is Hall of Fame level. Aaron Rodgers didn't play like a Hall of Fame quarterback last year. This year, to start off, they start at home against the Bills. Their first 6 games, in fact, is Bills at home, at Cowboys, home Patriots, home Chiefs, at Denver, home Eagles. I think if they don't come out of that at 3-3 or better, so they need to beat one of the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, or Cowboys, then you're looking at a 2-4 or worse Jets team going into the bye with Nathaniel Hackett coming off the Denver fiasco, Aaron Rodgers maybe looking, did I make a mistake in coming to New York, New Jersey? I think the start is real interesting. They've got a nice soft ending pretty much, but I think the start is going to be fascinating for New York. I haven't gone 10 and 7, like I said, just missing the playoffs, but 1 win here, they could easily see them bumped in.
It's interesting that with that start, the media in New York could get pretty loud pretty quickly if they get off to a rough start, even with a tough schedule.
Yeah, I think.
Let them lose a couple preseason games, and the New York media is going to act up. It doesn't take much for and I love New York and everything, but it doesn't take much for that New York media to get riled up.
A little rougher than the Northern Wisconsin one-man journalism show.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Good stuff. Well, let's move on from the Jets. Next, Johnny will move and talk about your Miami Dolphins. Just before we get into kind of the look of what's happened, from your point of view, 2022, wildcard loss to the Bills, how do you feel kind of the season went for the Dolphins in 2022?
Well, we made the playoffs for the first time since 2016. I think Tua proved that he can play in this league. If he can stay healthy and stay on the field, obviously that's the big thing. But overall, I was good with the season. Yes, I would have liked him to stay healthy and see what we could do. But with a rookie head coach, a new offensive system, I thought we did fairly well. We went up to Buffalo for that wild card game and almost won it with a 7th round rookie quarterback. So I like what we've done. I like the steps that we're taking to get to that next level, and I'm anxious to see what happens this year. But no, that's the first offense in 20 years probably that we actually saw scoring at that level. For the last 20 years, it was a struggle for the Dolphins to put some points on the board. So to actually see them scoring 20 plus, almost 30 points a game, was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it. I'm happy with what I have. Again, would I have liked Tua to stay healthy and him playing that playoff game? Of course. But I'm proud of what the team was able to do. I'm anxious to see what Mike McDaniel has in store for season 2 and another year with Tyreek and everybody in this system. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, the Skylar Thompson playoff game, which is interesting. And the Dolphins went 9-8. Skylar Thompson almost led them to not only a win and a big win, but what would have been the biggest upset wildcard winners. They were 14-point underdogs, the Dolphins, going into Buffalo, in a close loss, 34-31. You mentioned there Tyreek Hill, but Hill and Waddle combined for over 3,000 receiving yards. And your point, keeping Tua fit, missed 5 games with 2 or possibly more concussions. Who knows at this point how many were hidden with how he got knocked about and how he landed so many times, but two that we know of. A couple of, I suppose, key bits in the off-season. Vic Fangio comes in as defensive coordinator, and a trade was made, probably linked to Vic Fangio coming in as defensive coordinator. Trade for Jalen Ramsey for the Rams for a 2023 third rounder. So, yeah, on the Ramsey trade then, Johnny, yeah, what are your thoughts then on getting Jalen Ramsey for the Rams for a third round pick?
I mean, how can you not be happy with that move right there? You're talking about one of the best, and I know people say that he had a down year, but if you actually watch some of the film and watch the Rams, he still played at a high level. I think Vic Fangio is going to move him all over the board. I was super excited for Jalen Ramsey. Xavier Howard's getting a little up there, so now he doesn't have to be on the number one. You can put Jalen Ramsey on the number one, and then you add that with what they did in the draft. But I was super excited for Jalen Ramsey. He's a playmaker. So he's somebody that in that secondary can hopefully, turn the ball over a couple times and give us a short field every now and again so that we can keep on putting up points.
Cool. Before we get into the additions, and you touched on the draft there, Johnny, my prop bet, the good teams win, great teams cover, Miami Dolphins prop bet special for 2023. Two concussions in the 2023 season, over 2.5.
I'm going under. I
might
say
take
he makes it. I say he makes it the whole season with no concussion. That doesn't mean that he doesn't miss any games for something else. But I don't think the concussions are going to be an issue this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. He's had a rough time of it. So
hopefully the other thing he misses isn't a back injury where it looks like he can't swallow food or comprehend the addition table. But yeah, I'm going to take the under as well, just because I don't want to wish for an injury. I love Tua.
Yeah. Just to be clear, here at Good Teams and Great Teams Cover, we do take head injuries extremely seriously. Yeah. This is just in jest. Right. Scott, take us on then. What do we think of the moves that the Dolphins made in the offseason and the draft?
Well, I've already put a bet in, as I've told Johnny before. I've already put a bet in for the Dolphins to win the division. So I think the Dolphins are a very, very good defensive team and offensive team. I think they'll be hard to slow down. And they will stop teams. I mean, Josh Allen had a lot of trouble down there last year against them. I think that's basically why Miami went out and got Jalen Ramsey, is to slow down the Josh Allens and the impending arrival of Aaron Rodgers and a lot of the AFC quarterbacks that they're going to play this year, because their quarterback conference is loaded in the AFC. So, and then the other thing you got to remember is they got Bradley Chubb last year. Right. And now he'll have a full year in the Miami defensive system with Vic Fangio. So I think Miami is a team that's on the rise in the AFC. So I like them a lot this year. I really do.
It's a great point in terms of kind of, that back end and secondary. You've got Howard, Ramsey, Cam Smith from South Carolina, the second round pick. I think that's a fantastic pickup in the second round from Miami. You've got to have some strong secondaries in this conference. You're going up against a murderer's row of quarterbacks and teams in Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, Rodgers now, and ever improving Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and the list goes on. And you've got to be able to stand up against it and do enough to put a dent in that passing game. You don't necessarily have to stop it full stop, but to put a dent in it to give your side a chance. And if Tua can make it through the season, which fingers crossed he does, I see this being a really, really strong Miami team. I think the division's there. We'll talk about Buffalo in a minute, but I think Buffalo will take a step back and the division's then open. I think Miami can certainly take advantage of it. Again, same as we talked about the Jets. Ceilings and floors. Byron, we'll start with you. Ceiling for the Dolphins in 2023 and floor for the Dolphins in 2023.
I think the ultimate ceiling is Super Bowl win. I think realistic ceiling is division title and conference championship appearance. I have them going 13-4 and winning the division. Spoiler alert for the division picks later, I guess. But to me, it's basically 49ers East. Put your resources into the defense because you can scheme the offense. You bring in Vic Fangio, you bring in Jalen Ramsey, you bring in Tyler Rapp, Cam Smith, like you say, Bradley Chubb, like has been mentioned. And then you scheme that offense up and going to get yards all season out of most at Jeff Wilson, Devon Achane, I loved as a draft pick. Mike McDaniel I don't say he's my favorite coach in the NFL because there's a lot more established coaches. He's my favorite young coach in the NFL. I love him. Personality-wise, football-wise, I'm not sure if there's a smarter, more kind of in tune with his players, young coach in the NFL. I think he's great. I think the Dolphins can make another step forward this year. Again, just a bit schedule nerdy, but they finished with 4 or 5 home games, which, people talk about you don't want the Dolphins going into Buffalo late in the season. Well, 4 of the last 5 are at home. They have to go to Baltimore week 16 or 17, I believe. And otherwise, they're all at home in their last month of the season, or last 5 weeks. So I think things are well set for them. I think they're a sneaky Super Bowl bet, and I think they're my favorite to win the division.
Cool, good stuff. Great point about Coach Matt McDaniel. Yeah, one of the young, exciting coaches. And yeah, I was really impressed how he coached the playoff game, even though it ended in defeat in Buffalo. To get that team at the position it was, missing your quarterback, having to start 7th round rookie, going away to Buffalo in January. To keep it close and to give them have an opportunity to win the game, I think it was an incredible coaching job from McDaniel, and he was able to adapt to the offense to what the Buffalo defense was doing, and yeah, just wholly impressive kind of maiden season for Matt McDaniel, and I'm very excited to see what comes. Johnny, let's have ceiling and floor from you, but Byron also just mentioned there, sneaky Super Bowl bet. What's it going to take for the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl in 2023?
Tua staying healthy. I think that's honestly the key to everything. I agree with Byron. If Tua stays healthy, I think the second year for Mike McDaniel, second year for all these guys in the offense, like you mentioned, they brought basically the entire running back room is back. Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Savon Ahmed, Myles Gaskin. I love the draft of Devon A-Chain. He's going to be sneaky rookie of the year. You need to pay attention to that because he's going to catch a lot of passes. But I love Mike McDaniel, what he's done, and another year in this offense. The defense got solidified, like you mentioned, Vic Fangio, Jalen Ramsey, Scott mentioned Bradley Chubb, Cam Smith. I know a lot of Dolphin fans. I had to walk a lot of them off the ledge in draft night because they didn't know who Cam Smith was and didn't know why we drafted a corner. But you can never have too many corners, and he is a very, very good player. So I like what they did there. If Tua stays healthy, I think they can compete for the division and possibly a Super Bowl run. But it all depends on his health. I have them winning the division with 12 wins. But again, if Tua doesn't play, I don't care about Mike White and how much experience he had. It doesn't matter. We may be able to get a game or two from one of those guys, but you're not gonna compete realistically without your number one quarterback. So I mean, if God forbid Tua misses games, they could finish anywhere 7-10, 8-9. With Tua healthy all year, I think they can win 12, 13 games and win the division.
I mean, you saw the drop-off last year, and they had
Absolutely.
On paper, when you look at it, having Teddy Bridgewater last season knocking around to back up, and then their own problems and own injury problems with Teddy Bridgewater as well. And so, yeah, just kind of when your starting guy goes down, it just does cause issues. And it was a lot of time. You're looking at kind of 5 games missing over the course of a 17-game season. It's a huge portion of the year. Cool.
Right. I mean, and like you mentioned, props to them for getting up for that playoff game without their starting quarterback. I think that showed a lot to me about Mike McDaniel and the pulse that he has with his team, that they believe in him. And they came out, ready to play on that playoff game. That showed me a lot. So I'm anxious to see what happens this year. I love the acquisitions. And again, if Tua stays healthy, we the Dolphins can compete for a title.
Cool, good stuff. Scott finishes off then with the Dolphins, your floor and ceiling for the 2023 Miami Dolphins.
The ceiling is a division championship and at worst a conference semifinal exit with Cincinnati and Kansas City being in that mix. So that would be a great step forward for Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins. And then following year would be a conference championship, Super Bowl. But for this year, it's conference semifinal, division championship. The floor is a 7 or 8 win team, and that's with Tua not being able to play 17 games rather. So that's the floor. But I see Tua playing at least 15 games this year. So I think they're a division championship team because I think Buffalo as we'll talk about, is on the decline. The Jets probably are not there yet. And the Patriots are the Patriots, as we'll get into in a few minutes with them. But Miami is the team that's ascending right now. And don't forget, Dalvin Cook probably is going to be released. So if they add him to the running back room, that will solidify their offense completely. And they'll be a much, much more dangerous team with Dalvin Cook in the mix. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're coming up to kind of June 1st, aren't we? So we should see, we're already seeing kind of some movement. Arizona released D-Hop a couple of days ago. I think we might see some more in the next few days. But yeah, interesting. Like I say, I'm a big fan of kind of where the Dolphins are at, and yeah, I can see a playoff win or two in the Miami Dolphins' future for 2023. I just think the AFC is so hard to predict. There's so many good teams.
That would be so great. It's been so long since the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since 2000. So, one playoff win would be nice. Yeah, I'll take that.
Look, we're seeing right in the sports, across not just the NFL but the other major sports streak. Some of these long old streaks are being ended or have been ended in the last few years. Yep. The Bills playoff drought, Bengals postseason. Going winless for 24 years in the postseason. Now they can't stop winning playoff games. So we've seen some of that stuff. We're potentially going to see the streak of teams going 3-0 up in an NBA series come to an end as well.
Yeah.
So, please.
So you enjoyed your Miami Dolphins talk. Are you a Heat fan as well, Johnny?
No, actually not. I'm born and raised in New York. I've been down here for 20-something years. The Dolphin thing was just as a kid going against my cousins and uncles that were all Jets and Giants fans. I played quarterback as a kid growing up too, so I was a Dan Marino fan. So I just went towards the Dolphins. But no, I mean, baseball. I'm a fan of players more than actual teams in basketball. Excuse me. So I watch all different players and stuff like that. But no, that's quite a collapse that's going on right now. Sorry to all my Dolphin Miami Heat people out there, including my co-host Alex. I know he's tripping out right now about Game 7, but wow,
rough one last night because they looked to have had it won, and then the buzz beat. Scott, I'm taking you follow the Celtics, Scott, yeah?
Absolutely. I actually, in our Let's Talk Sports Twitter chat, I had actually said that the Celtics had choked it away because I didn't think they were going to win it. I really thought they would. When Butler hit those 3 free throws, I thought the game was over. And sure enough, Derek White, thank God he was where he was because it was outstanding. So, yeah, Miami's going to have a tough time coming up to Boston winning tomorrow night in Game 7. So,
yeah, feels like that was the moment the series was won last night. Yeah, for sure. I watched it this morning because it's on very late here in the UK. But I got up early this morning and watched it. But yeah, just an incredible game because it looked like the Celtics were cruising it all the way through the game, kind of. 10, 15 points ahead all the way through, the majority of it until that kind of last 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, we've just talked some basketball and good teams and great teams cover all the sports here. So back to the AFC East. Let's have a look then at the Buffalo Bills. We'll start with the prop bet for the Buffalo Bills before we take a look at kind of what's going on. So this one, more one for Bills Mafia, but number of tables broken by the bodies of Bills Mafia across the course of the season. Over or under 749.5.
I'm going over. I'll take the over. Whatever number you would have came over, I'll take the over. They do it in the offseason too. Just kidding, Buffalo Bills fans, but that's
see him on the Memorial Day picnic. Damn. Sorry, the potato salad has gone everywhere.
If they don't get D-Hop, that might happen right away. So.
That's a true statement.
Yeah, so I would go over. I would go over because I think D-Hop said it someplace else, unfortunately for them. So
yeah, it's an interesting one. D-Hop's landing spot. I feel like Buffalo could be a good spot given kind of where they're at. Let's take a look then in terms of kind of the Buffalo Bills and just a bit of an introduction to them before we get into the nitty-gritty of the Buffalo Bills. So Buffalo Bills went 13-3 with one no contest. It's weird saying that for American football. In 2022, they lost 27-10 to the Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional round of the playoffs. They did seal their 3rd consecutive AFC East title, and they were the preseason favorites heading into 2022. for the Super Bowl. Key off-season headlines, and one that I'm sure everybody was glad to see. Damar Hamlin has been cleared to return to football after suffering a cardiac arrest in Week 17 in a very scary moment, which is what led to that 1-0 contest. They're going to start construction on a new $1.4 billion stadium that's going to complete in 2026, and hopefully for the people of Buffalo, not make it quite as cold to go and watch a home game. And they made some key, re-signed some key free agents of their own, key defensive players, Shaq Lawson, Matt Milano, and Jordan Poyer, just to keep that defense intact. So Buffalo Bills, guys, Scott, let's start with you. Kind of in terms, kind of what shape do you think they're in heading into 2023?
I think they're headed in the wrong direction, to be honest with you. I think, there's talk of Josh Allen running less than he has in the past, that they want him to be a so-called pocket passer and not run only when he needs to. I think the run, signing Damian Harris was a good move, but it's just like a sideways move because I think him and Singletary are about the same back as each other. James Cook is going to be the more explosive dual threat for them, I think. So look for that to happen. Their defense, I'm not really sure what they're doing with their defense. They're a year older now. They've signed Von Miller last year. We don't know if he's playing. We don't know if he's back. We don't know what's going on, when he'll return, some stuff like that. So I think they're going in the wrong direction, to be honest with you. Their first draft pick, Dalton Kincaid, makes me think that they're not really sold on Dawson Knox anymore, which was Josh Allen's security blanket as soon as 2 years ago. So they've been a really baffling team to follow this offseason in terms of what they're doing and what their direction is going to be as a team and an offense. So I look for the Bills to kind of regress a little here in this season. I don't look at them as a Super Bowl. I look at them as a possible Super Bowl contender, but I really don't look at them as solid a Super Bowl contender as they have been in the last 2 to 3 years. And the big question is Stephon Diggs. That's another question. Is he happy? Is he not happy? What's going on with him? So,
well, last time we saw him, he certainly wasn't very happy at the end of the at the end of the playoff loss to the Bengals. It's an interesting one because I think there was some kind of warning signs throughout 2022 that the Bills weren't kind of where we all thought they, or where maybe they should have been, or maybe where we all thought they were.
Yeah.
They got beat by the Jets early. How they allowed Minnesota to come back on them. Minnesota came back from a big deficit in Buffalo, and the Minnesota were the kings of the one score game last year. But yeah, there were just a lot of warning signs for me throughout the season, and I wasn't sold on Buffalo. And then as soon as Von Miller went down, you mentioned they're another year older. Von Miller's coming back off a ACL injury, but as soon as Von Miller went down last year, their pass rush just completely evaporated, disappeared. It was non-existent, and that showed more game than any other against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, because they just couldn't get near Burrow, and he had all the time in the world to sit back and pick his targets. Johnny, kind of what are you thinking about Buffalo heading into 2023?
And before Johnny goes, they did lose down in Miami last year, early in the season too, where Josh Allen threw over 60 times. So, they're a team. I just don't know what to think of them. That's all. I'll let Johnny go now.
See, I'm more of the until I see them lose, I got to give them the spot. I mean, like you said, they've won a division 3 years in a row. They still have Josh Allen. The defense is getting a little older, but Trey White should be fully healthy coming into the season after missing most of last year. Milano's still a good player. I mean, we'll see what's going on with Von Miller. I'm a little surprised they didn't go after an edge rusher earlier in the draft. But I think the Kincaid draft was there. I think they still like Dawson Knox. I think they're just going to try to do the two tight end thing. I know they say they don't. How about you run the ball with your running backs, and then you don't have to worry about your quarterback running so much. You know what I mean? That seems to be one of the issues that Buffalo's had. But until they get knocked off, I got to give them their just due. So, like I said, until I see it happen, they're still the team to beat in the division in my eyes.
Yeah, for sure. We are joined in the viewers on YouTube by Italy Jet, who's got a
What's up,
Jets,
Italy?
Jets dedicated podcast. So no, Italy, you're the sole Jets representative at the minute. We finished up talking about the Jets about 15 minutes ago, but yeah, definitely here. If you want to pop your view on the 2023 Jets in the comments, we can certainly discuss it for sure. Yeah, they're interested, Joe. Your point around how the Buffalo Bills didn't address the pass rusher either really in free agency or the draft, and I think that's one maybe that they go and solve mid-season potentially, that they go make a move. In later on in the season. Yeah, it's one that I was really, really shocked that they didn't address. And I think they've made some good moves in the draft. I love Kincaid. I think Dallas would have taken Kincaid as he was on the board, but the Bills moved up to make the pick. And I love the Osiris Torrance pick. But yeah, I just felt there's some kind of glaring needs for Buffalo there. Byron, your take on where the Bills are in 2023?
I think the thing about them being maybe worse than last year, I think you kind of touched on it a little earlier, Paul, is like, I think the 2022 Bills were worse than we thought they were. They went in the Super Bowl favorites last year, and they won 13 games, so that doesn't really feel like they dropped off, but they did drop off, especially from the mid-season on. Von Miller is really their Jenga piece. If Von Miller doesn't go, I don't think the Italy has got me convinced that we're talking about the Jets now, but if Von Miller doesn't go, I don't think the Bills really go. Ed Oliver has been good, not great. Rousseau hasn't developed as they would like just yet. And yeah, they didn't address the edge, which is a little peculiar. Dalton Kincaid, I agree with Johnny. I think they still believe in Dawson Knox. I think Dawson Knox is more of a vertical tight end. I think Dalton Kincaid, it's a little cliche, but he's going to be slot receiver, tight end. And, Isaiah McKenzie, who, is a bit of a nothing burger, but he went to the Colts. Jamison Crowder went to the Giants. And then Cole Beasley went to record a hip-hop album or to spread anti-vax conspiracies. I'm not too sure which he's settled on. They could combine the two. I believe in him. I don't believe him. I believe in him. But, yeah, I think the slot is a big area for Dalton Kincaid. He could get a lot of targets. I think he's going to be a fantasy darling he probably already is in ADP, but I think he's going to be a fantasy darling come draft season. The Bills, I still have winning 12 games, but it does feel like they've dropped off from where they were this time last year, certainly. And I think the end of season last year helps with that assumption. I think they're still a real good football team. You mentioned Osiris Torrance. I think that's a good fit. They added David Quessenberry, Connor McGovern, good all-line depth. And the thing about Josh Allen not running, I'll believe it when I see it. Because I think you can tell Josh Allen not to run, and it's like you put a horse in front of water, he's going to drink. If Josh Allen sees it, he's going to run. Damien Harris, fully agree with Scott, is a sideways lateral move from Devin Singletary. He's fine. He could get 14 touchdowns next year. He could do the LeGarrette Blount and just fall in the end zone a load. He's done it for New England. But I don't think he's an upgrade. I think James Cook is who they need to be a good running back. I'm not sure he is. But I think he's just going to be on the arm of Josh Allen once again.
Yeah, that point around kind of Josh Allen running, if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm holding my breath almost every time. And I know Josh Allen has the size and things like that, but I just get worried every time I see him that he's going to get hurt and he's going to get hurt bad. But
Cam Newton had the size. Andrew Luck had the size. Yeah. Until they don't and they're not fast enough and they get banged up. There's running quarterbacks like Russell Wilson gets out of bounds. Lamar Jackson gets out of bounds and gets down. Josh Allen plays big boy. It's like, you don't need to. You're not a linebacker. Protect yourself and protect your team. It's not a smart decision to be tougher than the linebacker because you're not.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Josh Allen is that when he hurt his elbow, I think that's when it started going downhill for him a little bit, was that elbow injury, which was hurt more than he was letting on and the Bills were letting on, because his deep ball was not nearly as effective after that injury as it was before that injury. So.
And I don't want to sound like we're denigrating. Josh Allen is incredible to watch.
I
hope for his own benefit he stops running as much. I'm not saying it as he shouldn't, because it's not good to watch, but Josh Allen can sling the ball as good as anybody in the league that isn't called Patrick Mahomes. He's wonderful to watch throw the ball. I just wish he'd do it. Not so much more, but just don't run as much. Keep throwing it at the same level, and either hand the ball off or just throw it out of bounds.
Right. Look for the sideline. That's the other thing.
Or how about just get down, just slide.
Get down,
Slide. Yeah. Don't like Byron said, you don't have to be the tough guy. I think he's getting there. I think he's maturing into that point. I mean, those hits are going to add up. So as big and strong as he is, he's going to start feeling them more and more as he gets older. So, but again, they say they don't want him to run more. Well, first of all, don't call any more quarterback run plays because come on now. But if they actually stuck to the actual running game, I think that would help alleviate some of that off of him as well, so he doesn't feel like he has to do it. But I agree with Byron as well. If he sees a hole there, he's gonna go. He's gonna go. That's just the player he is. But again, just slide once you get that first down or go out of bounds or something. Don't take any unnecessary hits because I want to see the best players play. So I don't want to see anybody get hurt. So I want him to be out there all season. So he needs to definitely take as little hitting as he possibly can.
Yeah, I don't need to see Kyle Allen quarterback in the playoffs. I don't need to see that. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Nobody wants to see that.
Don't want to see Kyle Allen, Skylar Thompson match up in a playoff game.
No.
Right.
And it's interesting, but I think Joe, you're right. The Buffalo Bills rushing game, I think has to see a big step forward in 2023 if they are going to be serious about winning a Super Bowl. And I don't think you need to be putting it on Josh Allen across 17 games in the playoffs. I think what you need to do is be smart about how you approach the game. And you've got a difference maker in Allen, you've got a difference maker in Diggs, potentially one in Kincaid. Be smart with how you use them, and you've got to, for me, they need to lean on that running game a little bit more. Let's finish off talk with the Buffalo Bills then with ceilings and floors. Scott, we'll start with you. Where do you kind of see the ceiling and floor for the 2023 Buffalo Bills?
Now, having what I said about Buffalo, the ceiling is a Super Bowl championship for them. I mean, they have on paper, they have all the pieces in place to get to the Super Bowl. They haven't yet. You have to go through losses and stuff like that before you can get to the ultimate goal. So the ceiling is the Super Bowl championship. The floor is 11 wins, I think. I think they're going to be somewhere between 11 and 13 wins this year. So 11 wins is the floor for them, and a wild card berth instead of a division championship berth. So those are my two floors with them.
Yeah, still a really, really good football team.
Still really good football.
Challenges at the minute, which I think we can forget sometimes. Johnny, ceiling and floor for the 2023 Buffalo Bills?
I'm right there with Scott. I mean, the ceiling is a Super Bowl championship for them. I mean, they still have one of the premier quarterbacks in the league. They still have a good defense. I mean, their coaching staff is good. I mean, they have everything you need to win in this league. And like Scott said, sometimes you got to take your lumps before you can get to that next level. But the ceiling is definitely going to the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl. The floor, I'm with Scott. 10, 11 wins is the floor. I mean, unless there's an injury to Allen, I don't see how they don't win at least 10 games. But yeah, I'll say the floor. The floor is 10 and a wild card spot. But the ceiling is definitely, if everything falls right for them, they can hoist that trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, you touched on the coaching staff. So there's one key change for 2023 for the Buffalo Bills. So, Leslie Frazier's taking a year out. Sean McDermott's going to call the defense. What impact, if any? Because Sean McDermott's obviously a great defensive coordinator beforehand. But what difference do you see there being for the Buffalo Bills defense in 2023?
I don't see much of a change. I would assume Sean McDermott has similar philosophies as what Leslie Frazier had. So sometimes having your head coach have to get his hands dirty and get in there with them might be a good thing. It might be something that the defense needs to hear. There might have been some things that he saw from the outside looking in that he can correct or whatever. So I don't think there's going to be much of a drop off as far as coaching. No disrespect to Leslie Frazier at all, but McDermott is a hell of a defensive mind, so I don't see it being that drastic of a change.
Cool. And Byron finishes off on the Buffalo Bills, ceiling and floor for the 2023 Bills.
Yeah, largely agree, truthfully. I mean, the ceiling is the Super Bowl once again. Again, said a few moments ago, but They went into last season as the Super Bowl favorite. They haven't had much of a drop off other than what their play was last year. And personnel wise, they haven't lost too much. They have leaders on defense built in already. If Von Miller goes, if Trey White, like Johnny says, is back and he's back, then they should be in the Super Bowl contention once again. I think the low side is 9 wins would be a real disappointing season. I think 10-11 is the low side for them. I haven't predicted 12-5. It's tough to see a position where they end up near 500.
Cool, good stuff. I mean, I'm pretty similar. I think we'll see a different AFC East winner, but I see the Bills as a wild card team. Probably come up short somewhere against the Chiefs or a Bengals again, maybe a divisional round. But interesting. I just think, like I said, I just don't think they've solved the problems that held them back in 2022. As of now, that could change before we get to week 1. That could change during the season.
And real quick, before we move on to the Patriots, how much does your mentality change if they do get D-Hop? If they get D-Hop, I think they have to be a favorite to go to the Super Bowl. You're teaming him up with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, it changes an awful lot with that one move. I think it makes them probably the definitive favorite in the AFC East. And I think it makes them probably the definitive favorite in AFC overall to get to the Super Bowl. So,
I mean, is it the point where do we think that the Bills might look to just kind of load up with weapons and they take that approach as opposed to how do we get this defense to be able to kind of stand up to the Chiefs and Bengals? Is that maybe the approach they go with?
Well, I think the thing is, we say it a lot, but you're not going to stop Patrick Mahomes and you're not going to stop Joe Burrow.
Right.
Can you keep up with them?
Right.
More likely. And I'd certainly feel a lot more comfortable. I don't know if I'd put them as Super Bowl favourites, certainly, from the AFC, but I feel a lot more comfortable with Diggs and Hopkins than Gabe Davis as my number 2. As Gabe Davis has flashes, and he did play injured last year, so better than what he showed last year, but he's not what I would want as a reliable number 2 wide receiver. You put DeAndre Hopkins in there, you're really cooking with gas. And Josh Allen better stop running.
Right. Just throw the ball up.
I think some D-Hop and Kincaid, you can probably do that.
Yeah, and I think the problem with Buffalo last year is they put all their eggs in beating the Chiefs basket, and they forgot to put some eggs in the beating the Bengals basket. And that, unfortunately, that bit them, in the backside because they did not perform well against the Bengals in the playoffs. So,
and I think there was a piece in the playoffs, and there was a bit of a, I don't put this the right way, a bit of a hangover from all that happened with Damar Hamlin late in the season, and I think that had a big impact on them, a huge emotional toll on the players, and obviously they had that in week 18, obviously the outburst of emotion with the game against the Patriots in Buffalo and Damar Hamlin being there and kind of that relief and that peace. But I just think it took a lot out of the Bills coaching staff, the Bills players, that it happening right at the end of the season. I think there was a hangover of that in the playoffs. Obviously a horrible thing to for an individual to have to go through Damar Hamlin, but also for kind of a team to have to go through, together. So I think there was a little bit of that as well. And great that I believe we should see Damar Hamlin back in 2023, which is amazing given kind of the scenes that were in Cincinnati only 6 months ago. So great to see that Damar Hamlin is probably going to be part of the team in 2023.
Yeah.
Odds on for comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year, yeah. It's going to be pretty short odds for comeback player of the year for sure.
Yeah. Odds on already.
No doubt. No doubt.
Hand it him now.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, that wraps us up on Bills talk. Scott, we'll move on to your New England Patriots. So start us off then with kind of how, from your perspective, how 2022 went and where you're at kind of through the offseason with the Patriots.
So I think when it started with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the co-offensive coordinators, I think that told you all you needed to know about how their season was going to go, because those guys never called offense at the NFL level before. They'd never been in that position before. And you got a young quarterback in Mac Jones that you're trying to groom and develop, that you really are going to lose a year in his pre-prime year, so to speak, because of that. And it showed on the field. And Mac Jones had a lot of growing pains. He got hurt. Bailey Zappi was the fill-in, and then he was the apple of everybody's eye in New England. And my question is Bailey Zappi going to be able to win you playoff games after a 17-game regular season? The answer is no. Mac Jones is a better spot for that. He's more equipped to do that. So it was all about what they did in preseason in terms of the coaching philosophy that Bill Belichick put in and putting Judge and Patricia in that position. And that's what you saw on the field is an offense that was ragged at times, that didn't have any philosophy, didn't have any type of continuity. And Ramondre Stevenson was the best guy on the offensive side of the ball. And that suits Bill Belichick just fine if his running back is the best offensive player, because what we see last year, Belichick wants to run the ball 40 times a game and play defense. And it's basically what he did. He had Damian Harris, who was hurt half of the year, but Ramondre was the best player on offense. So I look for them to be better offensively because they now have an offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, and that will help Mac Jones immeasurably. And now Mac Jones is going to have to take a little bit more of a leadership role. He should have last year. He couldn't because of all the debacle that was going on. But I think this year will be a lot better for them. So.
I know you mentioned kind of the struggles with continuity and where they were. Look, and I know Bailey Zappi isn't, one that you want, your quarterback that you want in that's going to particularly win too many games.
Yeah.
For selfish reasons, give me more Bailey Zappi. I would love to watch 17 Bailey Zappi games. So it's a fun quarterback to watch. Was in college, right, as well. Western Kentucky, wasn't it? That was right.
I believe so, yeah.
But yeah, fun quarterback to watch there for sure. An overs machine. And just a fun quarterback to watch. But no, I'd certainly get the point. Bill O'Brien returned. Obviously, he's been away, maybe fixed a bit of his reputation at Bama. And yeah, come back to the Patriots. So before we get too in depth on the Patriots and the moves they've made, would you like to hear my prop bet for the New England Patriots?
Sure thing.
So this is a straight yes or no. And because we haven't had one for a while, or it feels like we haven't had one for a while, a 2023 New England Patriots cheating scandal, yes or no?
I haven't had one since Brady left, right? I mean, was he the bad apple?
They've already had one. They already had 2 OTAs canceled out. So, yes.
Yes. Oh, yes.
As far as New England controversies go, that's really on the mild side, though.
That is on the mild side, yeah. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because of the fact that maybe he's learned his lesson finally. Maybe not, but maybe he has. So I would say no.
Turned over a new leaf, yeah.
He turned over a new leaf, but trying to at least. So
I'll always embrace chaos. So I'm definitely going yes.
I don't know. I don't agree with him turning over a new leaf, but I'm gonna say no, that they don't get caught doing anything.
Not that there isn't one, they just don't get caught. Yeah.
Nope.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Right.
That's true. That is true.
Maybe we'll find out about in 2025, 2026,
right.
whatever it is that happens this
If
year.
it comes out, I'm revisiting this, by the way. 2 years, 3 years down the line.
When he's close to the Don Shula's coaching wins record, maybe you might see 1 or 2 things go haywire. But
money bags get dropped off at upcoming opponents.
No doubt.
Maybe by Kraft. Hey, Bill needs his record so I can get rid of him and let him retire.
Yeah, we can bring
Josh
Josh McDaniels in. That'll be the great thing. Bring Josh McDaniels back from Vegas.
So, yeah, let's have a look. So, just while my technology has failed me for a second, how will you look, Scott? Do you want to start talking us through kind of the moves that the Patriots made in the offseason, free agency and draft?
That's fine. Yep. So the joke on Let's Talk Sports from a gentleman named Alan Perales is that they draft all guards. So they're going to play with 10 guards in the offense and Ramondre and Mac Jones. So, but they got a great value in Christian Gonzalez in the first round, cornerback from Oregon, probably top 2 cornerback in the draft. Everybody's saying gotta go wide receiver. You gotta bulk up that room. But if anybody has seen Bill Belichick, they know he does whatever he wants to do, and he goes cornerback or safety or offensive line in the first round. And he got a good one. He traded down, and he still got a really good cornerback. Then they got some guys. They got Keon White, who's a really good edge rusher, explosive, can cause havoc with the defense. Rushing the passer. So that was a good move. And they went offensive lineman. And if you've known anything from the Patriots in recent past, their offensive line has been injury prone, has been ineffective, hasn't been really that good. So the one major move that they made that I will say will help them out on that is getting Adrian Clem from Oregon. He was Dante Scarnecchia, who was their former offensive line coach, talked this guy up really big, and he was a draft pick of the Patriots. So he's coming back to Foxborough to work with the offensive line. He's been really good up in Oregon with that. So I think he could make a huge difference with their offensive line in terms of any ineffectiveness that they may have had in the past that they won't have in the future. And that will help what Bill Belichick's philosophy is, which is running the football and trying to play great defense. So I think they've made some moves in the coaching staff that will help them immeasurably. And I think their draft was really, really solid in terms of what they needed and who they got.
Yeah, I love the Gonzalez pick, almost kind of the double whammy of the trading back to negatively impact the Jets and still getting somebody who I couldn't believe was still on the board at that point. So yeah, incredible. Big fan of Christian Gonzalez. So just to run through, thanks for that, Scott, while I was scrambling around trying to fix the screen. So yeah, the New England Patriots went 8-9 in 2022. They missed the playoffs for the second time in 3 seasons after making 11 straight appearances before 2020. Couple of rough games towards the back end for the Patriots. They had the walk-off lateral fumble loss to the Las Vegas Raiders and Josh McDaniels in Week 15 and gave up 2 kickoff return touchdowns in that Week 18 loss at the Buffalo Bills. There wasn't too much to shout out about from the New England Patriots season, so we looked at the bad. Sorry about that, Scott.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
And then we had Bill O'Brien returning as kind of offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. We mentioned, we've talked through, they traded that number 14 overall pick to the Steelers to prevent the Jets taking a tackle they seem to be after. And Patriots are going to honour Brady in their home opener against the Eagles in 2023. Touch on that for us, Scott, then, as obviously as a Patriots follower, kind of what that means, Brady coming back that for that home opener.
I think it's big because Brady doesn't strike me as the type of guy that will come back for these type of ceremonies and stuff like that. So I think Robert Kraft really had to do some selling to him to get him to agree to do something like this. The one thing that they're trying to get done now that's been a lot of talk up here in Boston area is to try to get him to sign a 1-day contract to retire as a Patriot. And he doesn't want to do it. He just doesn't want to do it. So I think you're going to see Brady around here a lot this year. I think they're going to have a lot of ceremonies for him. This is basically what Robert Kraft termed it as we thank Tom for all he did for the organization, so he's going to come back for that. And I think his retirement ceremony, jersey retirement ceremony, will take place at a later date in the year. But I think that a lot of the Tom Brady stuff will happen this year because now he's a part owner of the Raiders. He bought a little stake into the Raiders. So how often he'll be here instead of being in Las Vegas, I don't know. But I think it's a good thing that they're at least the olive branch is being, sent out to Tom to say, look, you were here 20 years. You need to come back so that we can honor you the way you should be.
Quick touch on that. You mentioned Brady's part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders now. Yeah. We've seen reports that Jimmy G has failed a physical. I think more than once. If Jimmy G can't get to where he needs to be, does Tom Brady kind of show up in 2023 as some sort of emergency quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders?
So I guess NFL rules say if you own any part of the team, you can't play for them. So if he owns part of the team, my answer is no, that he can't play for them. So, but I think some way, somehow, Jimmy G is going to pass the next physical that they have him go to. Even if he's not 100% healthy, I think the Raiders will pass him because it will look really foolish if you sign this guy and then he can't pass a physical. I mean, that's just a Raiders type of thing. But
I mean, Jimmy G's been in Vegas for a matter of weeks and he's already so out of shape he can't pass a physical.
I just like the idea of the Raiders trying to pass a new Brady rule. It seems like something that's in their history.
Good stuff. Enough about Tom. Let's go back to the Patriots. Johnny, as a sort of Dolphins fan, looking at kind of the Patriots for 2023, what do you see? Do you see the Patriots as a threat? What do you see from the Patriots in 2023?
Well, I mean, I think whenever you have Bill Belichick, you have to give them a legitimate shot. Again, I love the Christian Gonzalez pick at corner. Talk about being a great defensive mind, especially when it comes to the secondary. So that kid's gonna have a really good year. I know Allen jokes around about all the offensive linemen, but I'm one that I feel that you build your team through the trenches, so you can never have enough offensive linemen or defensive linemen. Mike Gesicki is actually going to help them more in the red zone than anywhere else. I mean, I joke with Scott a lot about, Mike Gesicki ain't going to do nothing, and he doesn't like to get hit, so he's going to go down, from any corner or anybody who can tackle him. But in the red zone, he is a good threat. But I think, and Scott and I have talked. The Bill O'Brien thing is the biggest thing. I mean, they did that kid a disservice. I'm not the highest on Mac Jones, but I mean, he's a good quarterback. But that was a complete disservice to do the whole two coordinator thing, and neither one of them were on the offensive side of the ball. That was just a joke. So I think Bill O'Brien is gonna have a big impact on this kid. The Juju signing is okay. But like Scott said, they're going to want to run the ball and play good defense and ask Mac Jones to not lose the game. And now he's got a couple of security blankets that should help him. He's got a real offensive coordinator on his side. So I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be competitive. I think this division is going to be pretty tough. So it's going to be fun to see. And like I said, when you have Bill Belichick, you always have a shot. I mean, he's one of the greatest football minds ever. So.
And I think a great point on Mac Jones. I think this is we are really going to see where Mac Jones is. I think in 2023. I think last year rough, and I think he showed a lot in his first year in year one. He did show a lot, and showed me there is a good quarterback to work with there and to develop. And I think kind of this is the year we'll sort of see how far he can go. And Patriots are always interesting. They're just kind of lurking in the shadows in the AFC East at the minute. And that's a scary place for Bill Belichick to be. So,
yes.
Byron, what do you see from the 2023 Patriots?
I find them really underwhelming, truthfully. I know you have to kind of respect Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick hasn't been Bill Belichick since Tom Brady left town. And I know there's was it Bill? Was it Tom? And it's never going to be as clear as that. That's absurd to have those kind of arguments, I think. But ultimately, things have fell off since Tom Brady left. Last year was a disaster. Robert Kraft wasn't happy. He spoke this offseason in the media that it wasn't fair to Mac Jones what happened.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that thinks this might be Bill Belichick's. If this isn't a good year, if this isn't double-digit wins, I think Bill Belichick might be on the hot seat, which feels absurd to say because it's Bill Belichick. But Robert Kraft wants to win. He's not there for sentimentality. And I just find them really underwhelming. Like, I love the Christian Gonzalez pick. I think Keon White's a really good pick, too. I'm not sure he's that much of a drop-off from Will McDonald we discussed earlier, and he went 30 picks later, roughly.
Right.
I think they were solid picks. But you look at them additions that are on the screen here. James Robinson was a great rookie, blew his Achilles, got essentially released by the Jags last year. I think it was a late pick conditional thing that he ended up being traded to the Jets. He was inactive for the Jets when he was healthy. Juju, it's a long time since Juju was a good receiver. If he replaces Jacoby Myers, okay. Jacoby Myers wasn't a hot shot last year. He was fine, but he's not a top number one receiver. Gesicki's fine. There's a lot of fine, Hunter Henry's fine. It's not much. There's nobody that's getting you excited. Bill O'Brien is a huge improvement on Matt Patricia, but that's not making the Patriots the Chiefs. It's not making the Patriots one of the top three offenses in this division. I have them 4-13, and Bill Belichick will probably win them another few games because it's Bill Belichick. But what if he doesn't? They start the season. What have I got for their schedule?
Well, the Eagles to start with, which is tough, right?
Well, it's a tough schedule.
It's
so
Eagles,
they start
home
Dolphins,
Eagles, Jets,
home Dolphins, at the Jets, at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
If they're 0-4 at that point, and everyone wants Bailey Zappi, I jest. Nobody wants Bailey Zappi. Nobody wants Malik Cunningham. Nobody wants Trace McSorley. Mac Jones has to be the starter. But I just don't know where. I don't see upside with New England. And like I said, I have them 4-13. And that's, you do these prediction things, and it's always like the good teams are going to win more games, and the bad teams are always going to win a disproportionately a low number because it's always hard. There's always upsets in the NFL. I just struggle to see where they get to 500.
No, I'm with you on that one. I don't see them getting to 500.
No,
but wow, Ford, that's a hot take right there, Byron.
I mean,
4-13. Hey,
in the last 5 minutes, we've had Bill Belichick's on the hot seat, and the Patriots, the New England Patriots, are going to win 4 games.
I mean, those two things are from the same person. If they go 4-13, he's off the hot seat.
Yeah, I can see it then. Yeah.
I will say this about Bill Belichick: is Bill Belichick, the GM draft picker, has not really done Bill Belichick, the head coach, any favors.
Right.
So I think that if they do go 4-13, 5-12 this year, I think what Robert Kraft will say to him is, Bill, you're coaching the team. That's it. We're going to hire somebody, and somebody else is going to do the drafts. And that's all he's going to do. Whether he's going to be happy with that or not, probably not. But it has to be done because he's made some really, really bad draft picks in the last 5 to 7 years that have really backfired on him as a head coach. So,
what do you think is kind of behind that? So we've seen teams consistently in the last few years, and there's some real good examples in the Philadelphia Eagles, for example, ace the draft almost every single year. Why have the Patriots been so poor at drafting these last few years?
Well, look at his track record. His track record is, if you take out the blips on the radar, his track record is, I'm going to draft Rutgers guys, I'm going to draft Alabama guys, and I'm going to draft. Now it's all of a sudden it's a little bit more of Georgia guys that has seeped into his draft strategy. Not this past year, so to speak, but in the recent past. So I think he Rutgers. I don't know what the fascination is with Schiano and his guys, but there's a fascination there, so to speak. I just think he does not take the top wide receiver like N'Keal Harry. He took, and he could have had it. I think Devontae Smith I think that was the year he was in that draft. There were a couple other really good wide receivers, and he went with N'Keal Harry. For what reason, I don't know. I think I don't want to take the top guy because I'm going to have to pay him top dollar. The Patriots organization, Bill Belichick has become very frugal and cheap in terms of giving money out to guys. He's basically trying to say to Robert Kraft, hey, look at it, I'm saving you money. So, but you can't do that in today's NFL. You got to pay to get talent in. And he's still living in the 1970s, 1980s NFL, which is I'm going to run the football a ton, play great defense, and be damned about the passing attack, so to speak. So that's my opinion, is that he's really become cheap. When DeAndre Hopkins trade rumors came up, they wanted Arizona to take on most of that contract for DeAndre Hopkins if they were going to trade for him. That's never going to happen. So he just wants guys at what he wants them at. And if he can't get them at that, he'll just pass on them and go someplace else. So,
do you think that Belichick is drafting in mind with his payroll budget minus what Robert Kraft is going to spend at massage parlors? Is that maybe the approach?
Well, I'm sure he has to take that into account when
when
he's messing with the salary cap. Do you think, Scott? Do you think he would take a back seat if Robert Kraft says, "We're hiring this general manager. You're just going to coach"?
I think so.
Or will he want out?
So I think so until he breaks Don Shula's coaching record, and then I don't see him going to coach in another franchise. I think he's Patriots or that's it. So he's 28 wins away from Shula, 27 wins, something like that. The way he's going now, he'll never break it. He'll have to coach until he's 92 years old to break it. But, he wouldn't be happy about it, but I think he would do it. Reluctantly, but he would do it. So I think he wants to run the whole organization. He knows everything about the organization. So when people say, oh, Bill didn't know that, of course he knew it. He knows everything. Everything that happens in that place, he knows. So, yeah, he wouldn't be happy about it, but I think he would do it just so he could break the record. That's what I think.
Cool.
Sorry.
Go on, Byron. Sorry.
Just wanted to put a big exclamation point. The 2019 draft with N'Keal Harry wasn't Devonta Smith, but the 3 receivers in the second round who went were AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. What happened to those guys? Did they ever amount to anything? Or
I have no idea. Are they still in the league?
Are they still in the league?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that's the thing. N'Keal Harry, nobody had him in the top 4 rounds of the draft. But Bill said, I like him. I'm taking him. You know, maybe it was Herm Edwards was the coach for N'Keal Harry at the time, I think. So maybe it was just a favor to Herm Edwards. Maybe he just said to Herm, look, I'm going to take this guy if he's there at the pick we have.
He loves taking prospects and players from he loves from schools that you just don't really hear from.
No,
he just seems to have a fascination with it. Yeah,
Sacramento State, he took a guy from this year. Who? I mean, I knew Sacramento State was out there, but did they have a great football team? I don't think so. So
that's not really a glowing endorsement of their pedigree, is it? Like, I knew they existed.
Yeah. I knew they existed,
I don't think that's on the logo Alabama. Like, oh yeah, we know Alabama exists.
Come here, Bill Belichick might pick you.
Yeah.
Obscure pick, yeah. Byron, we'll go to you as you've already kind of covered the floor of the Patriots with your 4-13 Belichick is on the hot seat takes. What's the ceiling? Let's give Scott and the Patriots fans some positivity. What's their ceiling?
The ceiling, I think, is Bryce Baringer is Rookie of the Year. Their rookie punter.
And they still win 4 games. And they still win 4 games.
I think their absolute ceiling is 9-8, and Bill Belichick is Coach of the Year. And Bill O'Brien might be OC of the Year, an award I don't believe exists. Assistant Coach of the Year does, though. Yeah. And maybe the ceiling is Bill O'Brien and DeAndre Hopkins bury water under the bridge, and they have a wide receiver worthy of the name. And then I'll give them 10 wins as an absolute ceiling. And the floor is 3-14, one less than I have them now.
One less than you had. Okay, yeah, cool. On that note, is this going to be what do you see in terms of, we've talked Bill O'Brien a little bit. Do we see this as kind of a bit of a pit stop before he tries to get back in a head coaching or general manager gig? He's done both, right, at Houston. So, do we see it as a quick pit stop, or do we think he's in it for a bit of a longer run in New England?
I think realistically, the longer run would be my best guess. I think the way it ended because Houston, if you look at his record in Houston, it's not appalling. It was such a fall off.
Yeah.
And he seemed to burn bridges with every single person in that building. And I think those are the kind of things that stop owners wanting to hire you rather than your record necessarily. People who go along and go with the flow are much more likely to get second jobs. Ron Rivera is a great culture guy, but his record's never really that good outside of 1 year in Carolina. But he'll probably get another DC job, if not head coaching job, when he gets fired in Washington, because he goes with the flow and he's good in the building. Bill O'Brien burned the building down on his way out. And I think that's, if he doesn't replace Bill Belichick in New England in 2024, apparently, according to me, I'm not sure who else would be looking at him as a head coach without a few years of paying his dues, essentially, unless he goes back to college as a head coach. It's kind of my take on it. Could well be wrong, but that's my view on it.
Yeah, I completely agree with Byron on that. What's going on, Flo?
What's up, Flo?
I think it will take him a couple years. I think he will have to, like Byron said, pay his dues. Because he completely blew up that building before he left there. Which I have lots of love for Bill O'Brien. Thank you for giving us all those draft picks for Laramie Tunsil. But no, I think he's going to do well as the offensive coordinator for New England. So I think he's going to help himself out. But I think it'll take a couple years of him continuing to show that before an owner would actually give him a shot at running a team again. So it may take a little bit. It may take a few years.
So yeah, Scott, I think that's Flo from the Bottom Line Sports just tuning in there, and a reference to the Patriots draft hall there with guards.
Yep.
So thanks, Flo, for tuning in. And that's also seconded by Alan Perales, who's joined us. 10 guards.
10 guards yep.
Hey, Alan, thanks for tuning in.
What's up, man?
Scott, let's move over to you. Floor and ceiling then for the Patriots in 2023.
The ceiling is 9-8 or 10-7 at best. I mean, the things would have to fall in the right place for them to get to 10. So I think they're on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. I just, unless Mac Jones has a quantum leap from last year with Bill O'Brien, which I think he can. That's my ceiling. My floor is I'm in Byron's neighborhood, 5-12, 4-13, somewhere in there. I just think the division's going to be too tough for them to overcome. I think their out-of-division schedule is very tough this year. We got Dallas, you got Philly, the Giants. I think Kansas City's in there
Kansas
too
City,
at some
the
point.
Chargers,
Yep. So they got a very, very tough schedule, tough road to hoe with a team that is. I would venture a guess and say this is the least amount of talent they've had before Brady showed up. And that was 1999, 2000. So, they're going to have a really tough time in winning games this year. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for the Patriots in 2023. Again, maybe not 3 or 4 wins, but maybe 7 or 8 wins. I think it's kind of probably where they're going to end up. So we've run through the we've run through the contenders and or pretenders, depending your views on the teams in the AFC East. Let's have a look now. After all, Good Teams and Great Teams Cover is a gambling show, and we've talked some bets. Let's have a look at some actual markets, not the ones that I've made up, for 2023. And we'll start off by having a look at the futures for the division winner and to make the playoffs. And we'll have a look at that first to begin with. Just potential unsurprising at this point, given that they've won 3 division titles in a row. The Bills are favourites at plus 130. And then we've got the Jets at plus 240, the Dolphins at plus 300, and the Patriots 750. We've already kind of mentioned it, but gents, pick me who's your division winner then for 2023? We've already touched on it. Scott, start us off. Who's your division winner? You've already told us, but remind us.
Yeah, it's Miami for me. I just think
value at plus 300, 3-1, I think.
Yep. It's just they have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and then you add Jalen Ramsey and Vic Fangio to the mix, and Bradley Chubb will be much, much better this year than he was last year, I think. So, and then they have another guy, I think Jaden Phillips, who was about ready to take the next step forward in his career. In Miami, he was a really solid player last year. I think Miami has everything to win this division in their arsenal. So I'll take Miami.
Miami, a 3-1 plus 300, 3-1 for those in the UK here is great. Is great value. I'm stuck on between the Jets and the Dolphins, but I'll probably lean Dolphins just from the value perspective for the extra value you get from them. Johnny, am I going to get any surprises for who you're going to pick as the division winner?
Possibly. I mean, I'm gonna go with Buffalo. Until they get knocked off, I'm not gonna. Even if they regress a little bit, you never. Again, they still have Josh Allen. So again, until I see Miami actually win the division, I just can't go with them just yet as much as I would like to. But no, I think Buffalo. Wins the division. I think Miami is number 2.
Byron, who's winning the AFC East in 2023?
Just the Dolphins, and especially at plus 300. I have one game separating the Dolphins and the Bills, so if I have to bet on one, give me plus 300 on the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's really, really good value. I think Alan watching kind of agrees. Dolphins win the division. Jets get a wild card. Bills and Patriots miss the playoffs. Mic drop from Alan. Interesting take.
Alan coming in strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus 200, the Bills do not make the playoffs. Just a little spoiler of the next column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I think how many playoff teams do you think the AFC East gives us in 2023? 2,
definitely 2, and possibly 3.
Yeah, I have the Jets on my playoff predictor. The Jets missed out on some tiebreak. I don't know what. I had them 10-7, and that was a tiebreak with I think 2 other teams. So 3 would not surprise me. I literally have it 2, but I think the over/under should certainly be 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going 3. Would it surprise me if it's only 2? No. But I think there's going to be a few teams at 10-7, and there's going to be a couple of really good teams that are not going to make the playoffs in the AFC, which is going to be wild. But I think all 3 of these guys, all 3 of the teams make it. Like I said, I think Buffalo wins the division. I think Miami is 2, and the Jets, with their 10 wins, like Byron said, they'll be some type of tiebreaker or something, and they'll either just barely make it or they'll be the last one on the outside looking in.
Oh, good stuff. And then to finish us off and finish off this look at the AFC East, let's have a look at the futures win totals. So we've got Buffalo, 10.5 is the line. Over that's -140, under +110. The Jets, 9.5, same odds on the over-under. The Dolphins, 9.5 also, over +100, under -125. And then the Patriots, 7.5, -115 over, -105 under, which is interesting. So that really does seem to be tight, I think, on where the Patriots are. Where would you lean, guys? Run us through kind of your views on the 4 teams. So, Scott, do you want to start us off? Run the table, over under for the teams in the AFC East.
+100 for Miami's great value. I mean, 9.5. I think they're going to get double digits this year. They were Johnny. They were 9-8 last year, right?
Yeah, 9-8 last year.
I think with all the improvements they made, they can definitely get to 10. I don't think there's even a problem with that. The Jets are another team that is right on that cusp of 9-10, somewhere in there. Buffalo is probably going to win 11 games. So I think this is 3 of the 4 teams are going to go over. I think the one team that's going to go under is the Patriots. So I think you're just looking at Miami at +100. Like I said, I've already bet them to win the division. I bet them to go over the win total. I mean, I'm really high on Miami this year. Buffalo is not going to go under 10.5. Not going to go under 11, I don't think. The Jets are the question mark. Are they going to get 9? Are they going to get 10? What are they going to do? So
it is interesting. I think the lines are pretty tight. And Flo's dropped in with another take around kind of Josh Allen and his potential regression, and the fact in 2022 that he might have dropped off a little bit, which is interesting.
He was hurt last year.
Yeah.
To be fair, he had half an elbow.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Makes things a little bit difficult. Johnny, hit us up, run the table for us on the over-unders for the AFC East.
I mean, I'm in lockstep with Scott. I think Buffalo, the Jets, and Miami, I think they all go over. And yeah, I'm gonna say New England is under. I'm gonna say they only win 7 games. Yeah, I'm jumping all over that 9.5 with Miami. I think they easily win double-digit wins. I think the Jets, like I said, unless Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, I think they're gonna win, 10 games. And I think Buffalo, like I said, until I see Buffalo lose the division, I'm gonna continue to ride with Buffalo and say they get their usual 12, 13 wins.
Byron, we know your take on the Patriots, so I'm guessing you're going under there with your 3-14.
I was going to say the mortgage is going on Miami over, Patriots under double. I think you're buying money.
Yeah.
And if you throw in like I said earlier, I struggle to see how the Bills get to single-digit wins come season end. I mean, not how do they get there? How do they only get single-digit wins?
Right.
And, if you go the over -140 on Buffalo, the over Miami 9.5, and the under on Patriots, you get, for $100 lay, you get $569 back.
Yeah.
The Jets, I think, is probably an over, but I think I'd struggle to place a bet confidently on that. I'd probably go the over if I was betting it. But if I can put the triple on of over 10.5 Buffalo, over 9.5 Miami, under 7.5 New England, and get 4.5 odds, 9-2, I think that's very good value.
Yeah. Flo chipping in again. So the Bills to win the division from Flo, so likes that. Jets, Miami, and then the guards for the Patriots.
Plus Ramondre.
I think I'm the Bills over 10.5. Yeah. I can see that. I like that as better. And then Miami for sure over 9.5. I love as well. It is very tour dependent, as we've discussed. Potentially burned by what happened last year with Miami, but I think 10 wins Miami can make for sure. That, quite conscious we've hit 90 minutes. We've been going for 90 minutes. It doesn't feel like that. Quite conscious that's the case. Gentlemen, I really want to thank you ever so much for joining me today on State of the AFC East here on Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. It's been a pleasure. If you've not managed to watch the whole show, it'll be available to play back, and you'll get the audio-only version of the show on Spotify, so you can also hit up Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover on Spotify. This, gentlemen, I only remembered earlier, is our 20th episode. Started at the end of January. We've got to the 20th episode. Byron, did you think that was going to happen when I started this back in January?
Not till you gave me a call now. Bail you out.
What was your over under, Byron?
About the same as 2 concussions, I think. So maybe about 20.
So maybe about 20 that haven't been reported. But we're going to keep going anyway. We've still got 6 divisions to cover, so we're going to get to 26 at least.
Well, you said we're not stopping until we match the Bills' table breaks. So
yeah,
we ain't going off the air for a while yet.
Yeah. It might be a lot. 749.5. But Chance, thanks, Scott. Thanks ever so much for joining us, giving us your take on the Patriots. Not that they'll need it, but I know you're going to be pulling for the Celtics in Game 7, so all the luck with that. Johnny, I appreciate your takes on the Dolphins. I know obviously you're a Yankees fan as well, so good luck to the pinstripes for the rest of the baseball season. Byron, it's been a great day with you. You finished it on Good Teams and Great Teams cover. We'll catch you next time. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, Paul.